Bashir gets his wardrobe at Tron. Sisko doesn't beg. And did Cirroc say this is the most exciting episode he's ever seen?
No.
Hey, everybody. Oh, you did? Oh, way to ruin the tease already. We're going to have to wait 45 minutes to find out. Welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are reviewing Season 2, Episode 11 of Deep Space Nine, called Rivals, directed by David Livingston. How are you, Cirroc?
Doing good. Good.
So,
David Livingston did this one, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
So, second most exciting or third or what?
No, it's not even the top 5 yet.
Wow. So
it's a good episode, but it's not exciting like that. No.
Yeah. I got to say, man, when it was pretty much over, last minute, I was like, oh, that's it, huh? That's no real climax.
No, there wasn't a climax. There wasn't really a lesson there. I kept thinking it was going to be something that it wasn't. Like this whole Rivals thing, I thought was something else. You know, I don't know. It just kept going in a different direction. Each time I thought it was going in a direction, it would turn another way, and not in a good way, in my opinion. So. I'm sorry to say, but no, like, for example, him meeting the woman and wanting to marry her right away. Then he had the Dabu girl kind of, on his side girl already, but then he was also courting the lady who was taking all her life's fortune and investing in on the mining deal. So there were so many little things thrown at me that I was like, oh, okay, is this the story about this person's interaction or no? Okay, so is it about this? No. The guy he meets in jail, for example, I thought, okay, there's a story here that's about this guy. They're going to be rivals, and that's where it's going to go. And it didn't go there. So everywhere I thought the story was going, it not necessarily for the good, like I say.
Yeah, I think the rivals were these two guys we're looking at here, which was Bashir, who shops at Tron.
Right.
And Miles, who shops at, I don't know, Ross? Would you say that's Ross?
That's a Ross look.
dress for less.
Like, it's nothing futuristic about his look. That's the funny thing.
Right out of 1983, this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking?
Complete opposites, yeah.
Oh, by the way, those of you that are just listening in, if you remember the episode Rivals, Miles is in like a short sleeve sweater with a weird thing under it,
with a collar shirt, that's a butterfly collar shirt,
and then some khaki shorts and some nice little gray wristbands. And Bashir is wearing, I don't even know how I would describe that. Cirroc, do you want to give it a shot?
No, I thought Tron was a very good. It actually looks like a Jake outfit.
Yeah,
a Jake pajama. That's one of Jake's pajama outfits.
But finally, you got to see someone else wearing this stuff.
Somebody else got to wear it, which is great. And O'Brien looks like Fletch.
He's got the headband too.
Yeah, if you've ever seen Chevy Chase and Fletch, that's pretty accurate there. So no, I was pleasantly disappointed for this whole episode. It was. I was also a fan of Bashir's shoes. He seemed to have the silver Nikes on. They were they matched the outfit. So I thought that was kind of cool too. I drew a picture of his shoes.
Oh, let's see it.
Oh yeah, well it's a stupid cartoon vision, but it's I think his shoes are here somewhere, right? Oh, there it is. You see his shoes there?
Looks cool.
The Star Trek Nikes. But no, I wasn't really. I thought there would be more about luck and a storyline about how luck favors and which way, and some kind of really heavy hitting story. Not the back and forth of it, and the pulsating luck is on your side, luck is on his side moment kind of thing, but more like a lesson about luck or relying on luck. something to that nature. So I just it was okay. You got to see the O'Brien relationship develop, right? They're starting to bud their friendship, Bashir.
Yeah. I like that too. I mean, and they were rivals as well as
Right.
Quark and the other guy. But we all know, at some point they end up being buddy buddy. But it was cute to see them all like fussy with each other and like kind of
Yeah.
butting heads.
I thought this was like the beginning of their budding friendship that's going to kind of carry out. So I enjoyed that. They kind of started here, and I thought some things were played like a little bit over the top for me, like when they were about to play the game for the first time, and Bashir was doing all these weird stretching scene motions, kind of a Richard Simmons workout type deal. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this. So those were kind of an over the top moment for me a little bit.
There's a very famous scene in The Next Generation in which Deanna Troi and Beverly Crusher are wearing the most atrocious outfits to stretch in, and they're like stretching each other, and the camera's just like right in on them. And when you mentioned Bashir doing that, I'm like, man, how does Bashir's stretching and outfit compare to theirs? I mean, it's not quite there, but it's almost there. It's comparable. He definitely wouldn't stick out with the other two. He would definitely fit right in with their crazy outfits. I don't know if you've seen it, but I'll have to show it to you sometime.
I have not seen it. I don't know that I'm missing out on much, but I have not seen it.
It's pretty hardcore.
But yeah, that was. I mean, there were things in there. But yeah, that was the overall. It was not exactly the way I thought the storyline would go. It kept making these turns at various points. You know what I mean?
Mm. And it was kind of like. Oh, by the way, I did like the line by Sisko when Quark comes in and he's like, "Hey, you owe me one. You
begged me to stay here."
And he says, "I didn't beg you. I blackmailed you." And I'm like, "That's pretty good." And he just owns up to it. He's like, "Nah, don't get it twisted, man.
Nah.
I know what I did."
I didn't beg you. I blackmailed you. I like that line too. There were a bunch of lines that I wrote down, which was funny because there were a bunch of lines that I did like in this episode. Even though I didn't necessarily like the episode, which is hilarious, but there were lines that I liked. And one of them, Odo came off with in the beginning when he says, "You were talking, he was listening," and I like the way he gave that line. There was another one where O'Brien looks over at Bashir and he says, "Oh, you think I'm stupid too?" And I like that line. And then there were some moments like the interchange between Rom and Quark that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. When Rom says something to the effect of like the guy's like towards the end, the guy's being a jerk. Yeah. So Rom's like, "Well, I quit at least over at Quark's I can get ripped off by family."
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I get cheated by family is better than getting cheated by somebody I don't know. And the other line, the thing I was looking forward to the most in this episode was the scene of Rom asking for his job back. I thought that was like something they could have, that would have been juicy material for me.
I thought of that too. I thought, how does he know Quark's even going to take him back? What if Quark says, "Oh, I hired somebody else, of course. What am I going to do? Just not replace you for a week?"
Or no, I'll take you back, but now you're going to work at less money. So you just you just lost money, So I was expecting them to do that. I was really waiting for that. Yeah, I mean, when he tries to drug Dr. Bashir, that was like such an obvious move. The monks want you to drink this.
Sure.
And then they put it in there just only to have him look into it. So it was more of just exposure in the episode. I like the 47th rule of acquisition, which is never trust a man who's wearing a better suit than yours.
Yeah, that was a good one. And there was a second one when, which was hilarious. He says, dignity and an empty sack is worth a sack.
Yeah.
Rule of acquisition 109.
Yeah, I love that one. So, like I said, there were so many lines in here that I actually liked the lines. Just it was the story itself wasn't really fleshed out as well as it could have been. I thought there were more opportunities there that they could have taken advantage of. And establish more of it being about this rivalry between Cork and the guy who was opening the place across from Cork. I didn't feel their rivalry as much. He just popped up and opened a place, but it wasn't like they had this long-term rivalry that I felt as much as I felt it out of O'Brien and Bashir kind of having a rivalry about the game.
I'm really bummed out. I'm trying to find a good picture of Troy and Crusher so that you could see it, but they're all like low quality. But okay. Anyway, I'll show it to you in a second here. Anyway,
is it similar to this outfit that Bashir's got on?
It's pretty bad. Here we go. I'll pull it up right now. There we go.
No way. They did this?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And they're doing, there's all kinds of stuff where they're like,
and they're bending over in front of the mirror and everything. And
man, there's worse ones, man. Like every Star Trek person that's watched The Next Generation
knows this episode.
This scene is just pain. I mean, that's like the least bad thing that they did. Like they were like holding legs together. Like this,
okay.
and pulling each other backwards and forwards, and they're both doing this thing together, and then there's like close-ups, and it was
that especially the leotard that wraps up under is really revealing. The other thing is that this is the beginning of yoga, right? Kind of making it right its way into the consciousness. So they probably say, "Oh yeah, this yoga thing."
Yeah, they're very.
It looks like a play on it, but it's definitely provocative. It looks like the Baywatch girls warming up for a run on the beach.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
But I know the guys were happy that day.
I don't know, man. It's
pretty revealing.
Yeah, but it's also pretty.
It's raunchy. It's too
no
raunchy
offense
for Star
to ladies, but the outfits are hideous. Okay, like that's not their fault, but like, I mean,
yeah. No, they're the one-piece bikinis, basically outfits.
Yeah, it's pretty
tailor-made over top of these clothes. I mean, it's a little bit. It's a little raunchy. It's for late night. It's for late night television, ladies and gentlemen. This is not for family hour.
And those of you that are listening in, and not watching the video, half of you are saying, "Oh man, I am so glad I'm not seeing the video right now because I know what that scene is." And the other half are going, "Oh man, I wish I could see that video. It's hilarious." But it's pretty bad.
So so Bashir looks like the yoga instructor for that scene, is what you're saying.
He looks like they'd be doing that for like 3 minutes, and then suddenly someone's at the door and it's Bashir. He's like, "Sorry, I'm late." He's going in. All right, so where were we? Okay, so we're all three pulling each other and stretching and
stretching it out. And he did that whole stretch routine where he was doing these. He actually, it looked like he was going to do the Nog dance while he was stretching. He did one of these kinds of crossing his arms in an X, and then hand movements. So he almost did the full out Ferengi Nog dance that he created.
We got to ask Sadig if like they said, just make up any stretches, and so those were his invention, or if they said, just do the old crossbones maneuver, that old
Yeah, that was choreographed. They flew in an expert stretcher from New Zealand. No, no, I have no idea. But it was definitely. I wrote it down in my outfit because as soon as I'm on my notes, the first thing I wrote was "nice outfit, Sid," and then I wrote "stretching it out," huh? So
that's one of the first things I wrote. Where is it? I said Julian's outfit. Wow.
yeah. It's a wow moment. You have to literally. It's the first. I mean, and it wasn't the first thing that came on screen, but it was the first thing that jumped out of my attention.
It sure woke me up. And then the other thing I wrote was later on. I was like, okay, seriously, guys. Next Star Trek convention we go to,
somebody's got to cosplay
both of those guys. We need a Julian and Bashir pair where somebody's wearing the $7 dress for less outfit and the
headband.
And the other person's wearing the
Now O'Brien has shorts on. Yeah, he has shorts. So he has these khaki shorts on.
Yeah.
Literally like he's just pulled right out of the 80s or the 90s.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. And then Bashir is like out of like
Tron. I mean, literally, like, where's your motorcycle at?
So how cool would that be though if we saw somebody cosplay? I don't think I've seen two people cosplay. Actually, maybe you and me should do it, Cirroc. What do you?
We could do it. We could do it, but you'd have to wear the Sid outfit.
I knew you were going to. Come on, man.
No, I can't.
All right,
I don't think I can be that sleek in that outfit anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. If I wore that, I think I'd get points for, the cosplay aspect, but I'd lose a lot of points because I'd be wearing that outfit.
It looks like he's about to be shot out of a cannon.
Yes, totally. You need just a little white hat.
Yeah, that's all you need. You just climb into a cannon with that. There was another line that I liked where O'Brien says, "Yeah, I just stumbled around the court for 90 minutes and made a complete ass of myself." It was the first time I heard a curse word kind of in an episode.
Yeah.
Right? So it stood out. I was like, did he say ass? Like, is that the first time, that kind of language has been used in a Star Trek episode?
In an episode, yes. In the movies, no.
But on television, though. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I believe so. I think anytime I've ever heard, one or two bad words here or there, like they were all in the movies. Most notably when, what's his name? Data says, I believe I speak for everybody when I say to hell with our orders. That was one. And I believe there's a shit in there, here and there, but nothing too bad. That's the first ass, I think.
Yeah, I think it was the first ass. I wrote it down because it jumped out at me as ass usually does. But
tell us about that.
You like that one. No, it just jumped out at me because it is television. It is, primetime television in most cases. So that kind of language I didn't realize was being implemented at that early on. I thought that, it came later towards the NYPD undercover or NYPD Blue days, when they started
showing some ass,
showing butt cheeks in episodes and cursing in episodes. So it was surprised. And the other thing that was surprising is that they let O'Brien get away with it if he added it himself, you know what I mean? If it wasn't scripted and he said, yeah, I'm going to use this word, I'm sure that would have been a problem. So if it was scripted, then it makes it even more kind of, wow, they put that in there.
That brings up a good quick point. What I've heard, actually, a fellow by the name of Bill Mooney told this story. He was the original Will Robinson in Lost in Space back in the day. He was also in a Deep Space Nine episode, The Siege, I think The Siege something in like the 6th or 7th season. He was also in a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, what he said was that when he was on Star Trek, he was surprised that you could not add or take away one word. Like,
right.
So So to your point, I'm pretty sure it was written in the script, because if he was going to add one or two things, they'd be like, okay, well, we got to stop production and call the higher ups, and we're going to have to wait for an hour and let them all talk about it and discuss it. Did you have any experiences like that?
I did. I mean, I was there for those kinds of moments on the set when things were getting called up. And I've also been around for, the standard was to get everything word for word on a take. And any variation or alteration would have to go through an approval. So after we would record a scene and the director liked it and wanted to print it, he'd have to ask the script supervisor if all the words were nailed. And sometimes there would be variation, right? And sometimes that variation caused a reshoot of the scene, and sometimes it did not. So sometimes they say, oh, well, he said and instead of the, or, and they would make a judgment call on the spot. Now, if something was completely rewritten, and I've been there for these kinds of things where actors would say, no, I don't think I would say that. That doesn't make sense. I would say something else. Those kinds of things went by Ira, and they'd usually send guys down to the set to make a change, right?
Yeah,
and
that's interesting.
They'd huddle and have a conversation. So it did stop production sometimes. For example, Avery was part of changing the name of his wife on the show, Penny Johnson's character, Cassidy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and her name was originally written as something else, and I don't know exactly the name. But she wasn't happy with it, and he seconded that opinion. And so he said, before we film, because once we start filming, then that becomes her name for
that's canon. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. He said, before we start filming, we're going to have to come up with a different name. So bring Ira down here and let's figure it out. So I think they went through a process of getting a different name for her.
That's so cool.
While they're holding up production. So
you went up to bat for her, man.
He did. He went up to bat for her, and she made a valid point about the name. She didn't think it was as timeless as Star Trek likes to be represented. And it was a little bit too much, too dated and too stereotyped.
Love that. So we got to go to a break right now, which is too bad. I kind of want to hear a little bit more about that, but I think we covered it. Also, when we come back on the other side, here's a little tease for you. How was Whoopi Goldberg connected to this episode? Star Trek nerds, Star Trek fans, Star Trek pundits, how is Whoopi Goldberg connected to this episode? And we will be right back. Cirroc, I know you know the answer.
I'm writing it down right now.
All right. We'll be right back with the seventh rule. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the seventh rule with Cirroc Lofton. My name is Ryan T. Husk. We are reviewing Season 2, Episode 11 of Deep Space Nine, called Rivals, directed by David Livingston. And we had a little tease right before the break. The answer is Whoopi was, when she played on Deep Space Nine, she was a character called Guinan. Guinan was an El-Arian. And I was interested to find out that main villainous type character, Martus Mazur, was also an El-Arian. So he played this.
And so these are empathetic characters that know how to listen well?
Well, they are listeners, and they live very long, very, very, very long, like hundreds of years or even thousands of years. And so they're kind of these mysterious beings that kind of seem like humans, but they listen very well. They're very wise. They're kind of mystical. This guy wasn't, but.
Oh, interesting. So it's a El-Zarian.
El-Arian, yeah.
El-Arian. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when he said that, I was like, oh, I get it. And he was saying he was listening, because that's what Guinan would always say when she would introduce herself. She would say, like, I tend bar and I listen.
Okay, so yeah, he gave a good performance. I thought he was It was interesting. I had no idea about this other characteristic trait and the attaching to Guinan.
Yeah, Guinan.
Yeah, Guinan. I didn't know about that, but there was a. Go ahead.
There was one other Elarian that I can think of. There may have been more, but his name was Soran, or Soran, depending on who was saying it. And that was in Star Trek Generations, the movie, the first movie that was the crossover between original series and Next Generation. He was the villain, and he was an Elarian.
Yeah, it's funny because the guy was he was wise, but then not really, because he actually was a con man, right? So his wisdom was being used to con people. So kind of like using your powers for bad, right?
Yeah. I wasn't really. By the way, the guy that played Soran was Malcolm McDowell, the awesome and amazing actor that was also in Clockwork Orange and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, I would have liked a little bit more Elarian talk, like something, but it was still a good nod.
Yeah, there was a line where Sisko and Dax come into the once they reveal that the energy source is emitting from his casino/bar at the end, and he offers them a play on the game. Hey, you guys want to play? And I like the line Sisko said. He just says, "We're not here to play." But the way and the way he said it, though, was just like it was just classic, Avery. Sure. I'm not here to play, and it meant so many things. It was layered. So I like that line right there. The other thing I mentioned earlier is I just wanted to see the scene where where Rom goes groveling back for his job. I wanted to see that. I really missed it. I thought they missed a real big comedy piece right there. It would have been a good interaction between the two of them. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, we didn't get a chance to cover it in the beginning, was that if I'm not mistaken, Nog got a shout out in this episode.
That's right. He sure did. I noticed that too. He said, Quark said, that when he was trying to play it off like, I'll buy this thing, but I don't really need it. He was just saying, it'll keep my nephew out of my hair for a bit or something.
Yeah. He got a little shout out in the episode, and where I thought that was an illusion that he would come eventually later on in the scene, which he did not. But it was good to hear that they were referencing him in that particular moment, right? I thought he would actually be tinkering with the thing or trying to be part of replicating it at some point, right?
Yeah,
but
we also didn't get the Molly sighting when Chief and Keiko were talking, but that was something I kind of perked up. Whenever you see Keiko, there's also a chance you're going to see Molly.
Yeah, and I like that they bring Keiko, and it's crazy because you forget that she's there. Right on the station sometimes, because you get more of the scenes with O'Brien, and then when you see the two of them, you're like, oh, that's right, she is there. They're married. It's kind of a reminder of that to me because she's not featured as frequently in the episodes, right? So it's always kind of a pleasure. She has a line where she gives O'Brien like her good luck. Was it a scarf or something, or some kind of thing sprayed with her perfume, right? And I just like that moment because it reminds me of something that a wife would do, right? Before you go somewhere, there's always like this one little thing that, she might write you a letter and say, don't open it on the plane or something like that, where it's just like, it shows the personal relationship touch. It's not always talked about.
We also had a very quick mention here. We also had another Pac-Led sighting at Quark's bar, which I thought was awesome. Those are the guys that we were talking about previously, but I only saw one, not two this time. But I kind of want to find out now who this actor is that's always like, they're like, oh, what do you do? I play a Pac-Led in Quark's bar every once in a while, Good gig. Good gig.
Yeah. The Pac-Leds. You know what I also noticed too, and I don't know if there's any meaning to it or not, but um, the logo that was on the door of the rival business, the Quarks, it was a cross, right? I think it was a cross.
I didn't notice.
It was a neon or backlit cross, and that was the front advertisement display for this bar that he was opening across from Quarks. And I just stood out to me. I actually was wondering, what is this cross doing in this? You know, almost looked like a church. You know.
Well, it might have been from the person that left previously, or no, I don't know. See, I didn't notice the cross, so I wouldn't.
It was in the background. It kind of looked like this. I actually drew it, but it looked like this. It looked like that. It had the black ribbings and throughout the part of it, and it was right there on the door. But I was just wondering, what is that? Why did they use a cross? And it's actually not just any cross, but they used the old Spanish cross from Christopher Columbus days kind of cross, you know? Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting. Just a little tidbit that kind of pops up out at you.
You know, there's something I have to mention because I just remembered it. It just popped in my head, and I can't stop laughing about it because at one point Rom says, or I thought he said, like I was just kind of like, you know, doing a couple things while I was watching and listening, and I swear to God, I stopped because I thought Rom said, I always had smaller loads than the rest of the boys. And I was like, what did he just, and I was like, do I need to go back and rehear that? Did he just say, because he was talking about how like the kids used to pick on him. You know, he said, oh, they used to pick on me because I always had smaller loads than the rest of the boys. And I'm like, what the? But then I thought, I didn't even go back and rewatch it. I just guessed. I was like, he probably said lobes.
Oh, yeah.
That's because I had to think about it. Like, what could he have said?
Unfortunately, both of those things mean the same thing.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. It must have been lobes. If you guys want to correct me, if he said something else, but I think he must have said lobes. Anyway, that was just,
yeah. I have no comment on his lobes or his loads. That's hilarious. Moving on from that.
Oh, you want to move on?
I got to move on, man. I can't even address that one. That's too funny. No, I like the nickname. The nickname they called him Miles the Mechanic O'Brien, right?
Oh, that was great. When all of a sudden Quark turned into Don King for a minute.
When he turned into Don King in the middle of the episode without any prior warning. Just like, here, this is it. I got a fight set up. And I was really, it made me think of those old fight posters, you know, where they would have like the two guys like face to face, you know, and I actually made one on my own, but I was thinking of one of those, you know, Miles the Mechanic versus Julian the Doctor Bashir. And it's just, I wish they actually had one in the episode where like they were promoting the fight because it was that funny to me.
Speaking of the fighter thing, there was something I saw very quickly one time. You know how in MMA they don't always have like their fists up; they just kind of go face to face. And somebody said something to the effect of, if you look at all these MMA, you know, head to head, getting ready to fight things, promo pictures, you can imagine it as a gay wedding photo. Like it just looks like they're like face to face, serious, you know. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Quark turned into the fight promoter all of a sudden. And
he turned into the fight promoter and then tries to rig the fight, which is exactly, you know, a Don King type move from what we come to know, allegedly.
The funniest line that Quark said there was, first he describes Miles O'Brien, the mechanic, and then to make him sound all crazy, he calls Bashir, he goes, they call him the Doctor.
Yeah, that's not exactly. So he's Dr. J.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Julian. That's pretty close.
That's pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Let's see if he can dunk.
he's Dr. J. That's a good one. And I actually like how his racquetball outfit is also a science officer looking outfit, right?
Yeah, it has that green blue.
It has that greenish blue color.
That's true. I didn't think of that.
So I was like, is that the science officer version? So there were little things like that were comical in this episode. The other thing that I thought was kind of weird. So the replicator replicates anything. Like, I've never heard of them replicating actual like objects out of the replicator. Usually for food.
Basically,
right?
Theoretically, and there's a weird science there, because if that's the case, why don't they just replicate guns all day long? Yeah,
latinum.
Yeah. I don't know.
So that kind of struck me as odd. I would say, well, I thought the replicator was only for food, not for mechanical devices or anything, because you would think they could replicate anything, right?
Well, we're already almost to that point with 3D printing. So
yeah. And not only did it replicate it, but it replicated in a larger fashion, which is another thing. So I just thought it was weird that the replicator now is functioning like some type of copy machine. So that was weird to me. And I don't know if they had explained that in prior canon or not.
Yeah, I feel like there are always those kind of discussions, but I mean, basically, theoretically, the replicators can replicate anything. It's all just ingredients that are stored back there, and then they just, you push a button, you want a hot dog, and they bring those ingredients forward to make a hot dog.
There was, and speaking of that, I'm glad you said hot dog, because the scene where Bashir is sitting down and eating, and he's looking for I thought it was salt to put on something, but he's actually looking for like the futuristic ketchup bottle.
Oh, is that what that was? I thought it was salt.
No, I thought it was salt too. But when when you saw him put it on the sandwich or burger or whatever it was, it came out looking exactly like ketchup. So I was thinking to myself, wow, ketchup is still, he still can't go without ketchup, man.
What do you put ketchup on, Cirroc? Are you one of those people that puts ketchup on eggs?
No, I don't put a ketchup on eggs. No, I put ketchup on hash browns.
Okay.
And I put ketchup on French fries. Basically any potato related item, except for a baked potato.
Mashed potatoes?
Baked or mashed potatoes, no ketchup.
Okay.
And I don't like ketchup on my burgers either. For some reason, I'm anti. I'll eat a burger and fries, but I'll have the ketchup dipping it for the fries, but I won't put ketchup on the burger. And for some reason, it just doesn't belong on a burger for me.
So is the burger more of a mayonnaise or a barbecue sauce thing?
I'll do a Thousand Island type deal on a burger. Okay. I prefer that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now we know. So back to the episode. Another thing I liked that Quark did was when he started to become the little manipulator. When Bashir was like, "I'm not going to do that," or whatever he says, and Quark's like, he says, "For the children."
Oh yeah, for the blankets.
But the blankets.
Yes. And it just I don't know. It reminds me of all the people that use children or other kinds of things. You got to do it for that. You got to do it for that. When that's really not the intention, and he was so obvious about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Bashir he's quick to come back. Well, if we don't do it, then you still have to get the blankets for the children, and if not, the monks will, hold you accountable for it. So, the children, and we get to see a little bit of more eye rolling from Odo, who's actually happy that Quark is irritated so much by the presence of this Elarian, right?
Yeah. And I couldn't. What was the lady's name? The main lady. It was like Alcia or something like that. And you could pretty much tell from the beginning that she was playing that guy, right? I mean, we saw that coming. We weren't like too surprised.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised. It looked like she was playing him, right? So when they said rivals, you're already going into the episode expecting to see a rivalry. And that actually, there's a movie that came out a long time ago. It was with Michael Caine, and it was called Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yes, and they're remaking that, but switching the roles to where it's one dude and two ladies.
Oh well, that's good. That's good. I remember that movie very well.
It was great.
One of my favorite, old school movies growing up, and it was about this same kind of thing about rivals, right? And they threw in the twist with the girl being, playing them both, which I thought was great. That's what I was expecting to see, and I kind of got a little bit out of that from this episode. I got a little bit of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Steve Martin is the other person in this movie. It was Steve Martin.
That's right.
Michael Caine.
Yeah.
And
favorite scene in there is when Michael Caine is whipping his legs, right? Whipping.
Oh yes.
Leg. He's like, "Do you feel that?" He's like, "Nope, not at all." And he's crying.
I can't say that I do. Can't say that I do.
Yeah, that's really good.
That is one of my favorite scenes. The other favorite scene that I have is when Steve Martin is pretending to be like, this childlike adult. And he says, "Excuse me, may I be excused to the restroom?"
Oh no, yeah.
And then he goes right there at the table and says, "Thank you."
Thank you.
Thank you. I like that episode. That movie was one of my favorite cult classic movies with the jackal.
Yeah.
Set in Portofino.
Is that where it was? I don't remember.
It was set in Portofino, yes. And then they had like the French inspector who was the head of the police, watching over things. It was really a good movie.
Let me ask you this. Scale of 1 to 10, what would you give this episode?
Oh, scale of 1 to 10.
Yep.
I'm gonna give this episode about a 6.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a little bit above average, but very little bit.
Just by a hair.
Just by a hair. The reason I don't give it lower is because I wasn't necessarily falling asleep or trying to turn away from it. So it held my attention, but it didn't blow me away.
High praise, Cirroc.
Yeah. Well, there's other things that have not held my attention actually. Yeah. And so I've watched a lot of things. I went to go see this Once Upon a Time in Hollywood movie, and it was not able to hold my attention.
It's like 3 hours long, isn't it?
Yeah, and I couldn't deal with it at some point. I was like, all right, I got to get out of here. This is too long.
It won some Golden Globes, though, didn't it? I mean, I haven't seen it, but I don't really have any interest in seeing it. I think Hollywood does like to give awards to movies that have the word Hollywood in it or LA in it or that are about the entertainment industry. They like to encourage that. Yeah.
I don't, they do. And there's all kinds of other things that they like to encourage. So I personally don't believe that this is worthy of Oscar or Golden Globe. It was a letdown, in my opinion, especially for the level of actors that are in it. I think that if you have DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, that you could get away with a lot more than what they did. It was really conservative as far as I'm concerned. Speaking
of which, we're still on to go see Cats in the theaters, right?
That's right. And we're going to be sitting together at the front row.
Yeah, we're going to be like holding our eyelids open.
Yeah, not in a rush to see Cats. But I'm not big on movies going in general. It has to be really a good film.
Have you seen Star Wars yet?
Haven't seen Star Wars.
Me neither. I got to see it.
No, I have not seen it. And actually, I haven't seen any of the Star Wars since Jar Jar Binks let me down.
Yeah, Jar Jar. You should see The Mandalorian, though. I'm on episode 3 or 4 on it. It's really good. It is very good. You know, the hype is right. I mean, it's not the second coming of anything, but it's very good.
Yeah, for some reason, and this is my own personal thing, so this is no knock on anybody, whatever they like and dislike. But I grew up being a fan of the original Star Wars trilogy, and I really like those movies. And I feel like the reboots and the remakes ever since haven't given me the same kind of joy that the first 3 have given me.
Sure.
And you would think that with technology being better, with special effects and all of these other things, you know, improving in Hollywood, that I would be more blown away by what I see visually. But instead, I actually enjoyed the puppets and Muppets of, you know, Jabba the Hutt and the Stormtroopers. I like the way it looked visually before than it does now.
Well, a lot of people echo those sentiments, and I will say that The Mandalorian does have some puppetry in it that you may enjoy, and it feels like the original trilogy again. You know, there's a lot of those kinds of characters, and that it really what it feels like is a Star Wars Western. It feels like those old Clint Eastwood movies where he walks into a city and, you know, and he's there to get a bounty, or there's a bad sheriff, you know, and he doesn't talk much, but he's just so cool, you know. And also, Solo was pretty okay in that vein as well. But Rogue One, I don't know if you saw Rogue One, but it has a really good ending, which leads you up to that original trilogy. Anyway, we only have like a minute or 2 left. So any final thoughts on this glorious episode?
Well, no, I'm just thankful that this episode has led me to see the episode where Next Generation wore the bad leotard outfits. So if it weren't for this episode, I would have no knowledge of Counselor Troy and Dr. Crusher having their stretch out scenes. And so one thing leads to another, as they say, and that's my final on that. That's why I gave this episode a 6.
This our episode that we when you see Troy and Crusher in those leotards together, what makes you say one thing leads to another?
I'm going to save that for the adult version of our show.
Got it. Yeah, I already said loads. I don't know what.
Yeah, where we can't recover at this point.
Yeah. Wow. So anyway, thank you all very much for joining us, everybody. Stay tuned for the free-for-all. I predict that we will be joined by our Trek techs, Kat R. King and Heather Jordan, as well as our associate producer, Rex A. Wood. And I think we're going to talk about these outfits a little bit more. That's my prediction. What do you think? I think it sounds as good as any other prediction I've heard coming out of you. Oh, great. All right. Thank you all very much. Stay tuned for the free-for-all. Always remember the 7th rule. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the 7th rule free-for-all with Cirroc Lofton, associate producer Rex Wood, and our Trek tech, Heather Jordan. My name's Ryan T. Husk. We might have 1 or 2 other people join us. But the first question on today's agenda, Rex got the graphic up, man. He's the first
he
up.
Fancy with that.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it looks great, doesn't it? Looks really good.
He did some photo editing there.
Yeah, absolutely, I did.
Looks beautiful. Yeah, we were talking about that before we recorded. But those of you at home, Rex is sporting our brand new poster, 7th Rule poster, that was designed by our good friends at teespring.com. They were very responsive and helpful to our wishes. Did a great job.
You got to get it right when it's reversed.
Yeah, you can point it out now. We've got you pinned.
There we go. Now I can point it out. There you go. There it is.
And it's got a great shot of Aron Eisenberg behind us, both in his Ferengi uniform and costume and makeup, and also without, so we get a good look at him. And I think you did a really good job, Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's a few other little details in there. One is, and this was the designer Teespring that came up with this, which was, you see the insignia in blue with the little microphone inside of it. That was their idea, and I really liked that. I thought that looked really sharp. And another thing that I was kind of proud of was, I was like, hey, is there any way you could use that insignia in the bottom right to be like the reverse negative of a 7? And you can see the 7 right there in the bottom right corner of the poster with the Star Trek insignia or Delta shield. And they did it, and I think it looks great.
Yeah,
negative space.
What's up?
Said you got to use that negative space.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
Turn it into a positive.
So here's a fun question for us. Today we were reviewing Deep Space Nine Season 2, Episode 11, called Rivals. And Bashir and Miles were wearing these beautiful outfits you see behind me.
Yeah.
And Cirroc and I were talking about how it's a little kind of reminiscent to, do you guys remember the episode in which Beverly Crusher and Deanna Troi were in the ugliest leotards in the history of science fiction doing their stretches?
Rex said, You can't forget that. It's burned into your memory.
That's right. A lot of things like that are burned into my memory from some of the episodes, but that was definitely one of them. This is another one that you've got behind you, Ryan, because to me that just looks like it's a very bad video from Olivia Newton-John, Let's Get Physical.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at that, it's like, Miles is actually looking like he should be Olivia Newton-John, and Travolta there. I mean, it's not right. It just isn't right. Got the headband on. Really good 80-ish looking, isn't it?
So, Rex, for the people at home that don't know how that song goes, can you sing a little bit for us?
Let's get physical. I want to get physical. That's as far as I'm going. Okay.
That's good. Good.
Yeah.
For some reason, that yoga scene didn't stick with me. I just don't know why.
Oh, but that song, Let's Get Physical, will.
Yeah, it will. It will. Just some useless information about that. But do you know that that actual video was banned in Utah when it first came out? The physical video. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. That goes back to my radio days.
If you said which city do you guys think that video was banned in, I bet we would have guessed Utah.
Yeah.
They don't want to get physical.
No.
We're joined by Kat R. King, our other tech.
You're getting letters. You're getting letters.
I got
Hey, I'm just stating the obvious.
Hey, Kat, can you see the outfit behind me that Julian Bashir is
Oh, my goodness. Look at that onesie.
Yeah. Watch your finger there.
Wow.
I'm having such a great Monday.
Patented.
Now I'm banned in Utah.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so here's the question. Which outfit do you think is, we'll say, which outfit do you think is sillier? The one Bashir is wearing right here, or the one that Deanna Troi or Beverly Crusher were wearing in their infamous stretching scene? Kat, you're joining us late, but you know the scene.
I do.
So we're going to start.
I would say the ladies.
Which one?
Hands down. They both look ridiculous. They both look ridiculous, but I think Beverly's probably was the worst, I think.
Yeah. It's the cutout. Yeah. It's the front cutout part. It's the part that's cut out on the front. That's just a little excessive.
It's the leotard over the leggings.
Yes, the leotard over the leggings.
That's what it is.
Why?
There you
There
go.
we go.
There you go.
It makes you she's wearing like some sort of full bodysuit under that thing. What is the point?
It's so funny because we were talking about, strong female characters in Star Trek.
Yeah, I know.
Their history of, Nichelle Nichols and Major Kira and Captain Janeway and all these really bold choices that they've taken, and then they throw in this every once in a while. You're like,
Why?
Yeah.
And Heather, to answer your question, what is the point of the full bodysuit under it?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a close look at this. Can you imagine that without the bodysuit?
Yeah.
No, I mean like it could be like
There's no
a tank
bodysuit
top.
there.
It could be like like a tank or like something. She's like full sleeve. Like at least Deanna
There's nothing.
had like short sleeve.
I would never work out in something like that. You sweat, gross, your entire body.
Neither would I.
I'm saying, hey, Deanna Troy
None
at
of
least
us
doesn't
would.
have sleeves on her.
No.
I'd give it a shot.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Full bodysuit to hold everything in place, I guess. But it's.
I'm going to
Deanna,
say
the thing
that
about
these ladies actually look beautiful in their outfits, even though they're ridiculous. The outfits are too period based. They look like the workout video.
Oh yeah,
It's too 80s.
Yeah, it's too 80s, and that's what makes it look bad, in my opinion. At least Bashir's looks a little futuristic. It looks some type of futuristic. This looks like. I mean, these are literally leotards over stretchy pants, and it's
like I was half expecting them to like show like a Denise Austin videotape or something, and like I was like, oh, it's a time travel episode.
Yeah.
And what's also is that I'm noticing it looks like they're wearing their tights have feet, which is like you can't work out in tights with
They're like footy pajamas.
Sliding across the floor.
Onesie.
Do you think that when they're about to shoot the scene, they go into wardrobe, they step out of wardrobe, and they kind of look at each other and go like, "All right, are we really going to do this? Yeah, all right."
Yeah. Well, look at Beverly's face. I mean, look at her face. She's not real excited. If you look up there, just not real excited about it.
I think that Beverly's leotard looks like it has one of their like built-in like girdle things that I know they did for like
wow.
Yeah.
Because if you look, it's
like
kind of like
whalebone corset,
Yeah, it looks like around her waist they kind of put a little. So I can't imagine that was comfortable, even though it looks comfortable. I don't think it was.
I don't know if that looks. It looks like that thing goes right up the booty.
Yeah, and then somebody said, "Hey, let's add a mirror in back,
like
so we can see the back too." Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for pointing the mirror out, Rex.
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought the mirror up.
Good.
The mirror it's like whatever you don't miss, you'll get in the mirror.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like just that whole 360. Let's just put mirrors on the sides too, so we can see how bad these outfits look from
It was like they were screaming, "Hey, our chicks have sex appeal here."
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Trying to say,
giving them nowhere to hide there.
Yeah.
So, Heather, which one do you think is more ridiculous?
I was going to say Bashir's onesie, but looking at Beverly's workout outfit, I just don't find it at all like, it doesn't seem like it would
like what the color just she wouldn't pick an olive drab green.
It's just not practical. Like if it's a real workout situation, it's not practical in my opinion.
No.
Black.
What about you, Rex? Which one is the most ridiculous of them?
I can handle the women. Being a guy, you look okay. That kind of looks nice. Okay, and back in the days, we got to go back. Okay, you had a lot of Star Trek nerdy guys going, "Oh, that's not too bad. I kind of like that." I am not real fans of the Bashir costume. Yeah. I think it doesn't leave anything to the imagination at all. I just think when you look at it, you're just like, no, I would never wear that. I mean, it kind of goes back to the racing uniforms that they had later on in Voyager, where they did that onesie with the race thing. you kind of look at that, and I don't know. I think Bashir should have looked at him that day and went, no, let's find something else. Oh, there's a good shot. There's another.
You guys
good shot.
remember the learning curve on Voyager with Tuvok when he's training the
Oh,
Maquis?
wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
There
those
it is.
outfits. That was, at least it looked like, the time period in which they were in, but they didn't flatter them either at all. Like, they didn't look good.
No.
Yes.
That's
Wow.
why I said I was gonna go with Bashir, because that onesie. I know that you, Cirroc, you fought to get rid of that.
Yeah, I can say that I feel sorry for Bashir in that. I was wearing it mostly pre-puberty, so that's
your excuse.
That's my excuse.
Thanks, there was room to grow.
Thanks for helping me out. Yeah, that's my excuse. So once you've hit puberty, you should not wear anything that tight
not
or
at all.
revealing. And I feel like I feel for Bashir because you literally everything's exposed. So
like what?
It's like his lower regions, his lower wormhole regions, and
I think his symbiont.
Yeah.
The wormhole.
You guys remember that episode of Next Generation?
His trill symbiont, his lower symbiont. I don't know. What can I come?
Oh, man, alive.
You guys remember that episode?
The wormhole. Would we get a wow out of Aaron on that one?
Yeah,
Would we get a wow out of that?
That's wow.
Wow. Where's the soundbite?
I think he'd still be laughing about the worm in the wormhole.
Yeah. He put the worm in the wormhole.
So, Cirroc, which one do you think is more ridiculous? One of the ladies?
I'm going with Rex. Even though the ladies.
Oh, what Rex is wearing?
Yeah. No. We're not going there. I'm talking about. I'm going with Rex on his pick of Bashir. I think it's too revealing for a man to wear anything that tight. I don't care how good of a shape you're in. I just think it's just too tight. But the design I like. I mean, it actually looks futuristic. It looks like it belongs in the future. It's just too revealing for me. I may be a little bit more, baggy, I guess. But I do like the outfit. I actually like the colors on it too. The white with the green and the gray. It's a good color combo. But the women are just the problem I have with them is not how it looks on them, because they have good bodies and it fits their figure well. It's just that it's dated and it looks too like a workout 80s type of Richard Simmons video.
Yep.
And that's the problem with it. But as far as they're a woman wearing tight stuff, it's more natural for me because they have the curves to accentuate. But a guy sitting there with his flat, just flat down, you don't really want to show off the curve that you have. It's not really appropriate, in my opinion.
And they just don't look comfortable, any of those outfits.
I read that the costumer actually made I don't know if they did it in DS9, but in Next Generation, they made the costumes deliberately like way too small. Because I guess they wanted to make it look fitted more, or they didn't want any I'd have to go read the article, but he purposefully made them too small because they were this spandex material. And so, that's why Picard always ended up pulling down his jacket.
Yeah, the tunic,
The Picard maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you would see that you saw Sisko do that as well. As he was sitting, you pull down on your top
all the time.
jacket.
All the time. Yeah, Riker did it. Everyone did it.
Yeah, that's true.
Except Data, I don't think.
I gotta say, I gotta go with what the women are wearing is much worse. Like I gotta be like, I feel for Bashir, and I would hate to be in his shoes or in his spandex or whatever.
Yeah.
But like what the women are wearing is just atrocious. It's just like, and I don't have fashion sense, but I can see that this is an atrocious outfit they're wearing, and not, I'm sure the wardrobe person was doing a great job, but it's legendary.
Or was fired that day, one of the two.
So do you guys?
So we're saying Are we saying O'Brien wins for the best of the worst?
Yeah. Well, what we were saying is we got to see somebody at the next convention, the next Star Trek convention, cosplaying those two, O'Brien and Bashir, and those out there.
And Ryan has volunteered to do the Bashir, which is really nice of him.
I would do O'Brien's outfit. So easy.
Yeah, O'Brien's outfit. We were saying we just go to Ross. Go to Ross.
Yeah. I think I have O'Brien's outfit somewhere.
99-cent store. I can get me some sweatbands.
Yeah, the sweatbands. Gotta love the sweatbands.
I'm pretty sure that the costume designer just went to Goodwill and picked them up. Just picked up his costume and said, "Hey, you know what? We can get that off the shelf at Goodwill."
No, what happened is that he came into work that day and they handed him a unitard, and he was like, "No,
not today, Satan."
Not my contract. Not my contract at all.
I like how wrist sweatbands have lasted over the hundreds of years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Terry cloth
staple.
Yeah, the terry cloth sweatbands.
Yeah,
those are a staple. They'll never go out, guys.
They never go out.
Now we know.
Eternal.
Do you know that there have actually been a couple ladies that have cosplayed the Beverly and Troy ones, though?
Oh, really?
I think so, I remember that.
Holly and Laura at Star Trek Las Vegas. And they're always great, though. Their cosplay is amazing.
Yeah.
So the boys got to step up. You know, somebody's got to be a Bashir and an O'Brien.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll be my next one. I think I'll do an O'Brien.
I'll put out a bolo for us.
I am not doing Bashir. No way.
Yeah, me and you both do an O'Brien.
Yeah. No, I'll do O'Brien. That's not a problem. I may have some of those clothes. So.
No, I was going to say, you probably have those.
I've got a pair of khaki shorts. I know that. I've already got half of the outfit down.
Yeah, long sleeve polo.
Yeah, I'm sure I played golf in that outfit.
I was going to say, it looks like a golf. That's something to wear playing golf.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we got to run, but we've really enjoyed this time. I've laughed pretty much throughout. You guys were in rare form today, so good job there, making me laugh throughout.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was awesome.
Kat, thanks for calling in. From where are you driving to, by the way?
Oh, no, I'm actually getting off work, and I'm about to head home, so I haven't started even driving yet. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, have a nice day, guys, and a start to the
I don't zoom and drive.
Yep.
You know?
Good seeing everybody.
You too.
You too.
Oh,
and
my God.
What? Go ahead.
I was going to say that today we're recording on Aaron's birthday.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Happy birthday! And isn't your birthday coming up? Isn't your birthday coming up?
Mine's tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow. Okay, so happy birthday!
Yay!
Everybody's gonna be
so
confused because this episode's gonna go up a week later, and they're
but we're still in the birthday zone. So shout out to Aron Eisenberg's birthday and
in the afterglow.
Yeah.
I do also want to say thank you to our associate producers, Mr. Rex Wood, Imo Radka, Dennis Koch, and Commander Homer Frizzell. For Kat King, Heather Jordan, Russ Haslidge, the superstar of all superstars, Aron Eisenberg, and you, Cirroc Lofton, of course.
I started that before you were saying that.
And Cirroc Lofton and Aron Eisenberg, our favorite person in the world. And my name is Ryan T. Husk. Always remember the 7th rule.
Right.
Great work.
That's hilarious. Yeah.